everyone. Thank you for joining me today on Addie P's Real Estate Tea, where we're going to be discussing bidding wars. If you like what you hear in this video, hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification button to be notified of future videos on this channel. All right, let's get started. For sellers in the bidding war process, this can be a celebratory experience in the sense that they get what they want out of the buyer that they choose, and it can sometimes be a deflating experience for them, again, in the sense of the buyer that they choose. Using a purchase price or a list price, example of $150,000. So the seller lists their property for $150,000. They get multiple offers coming in, and out of those multiple offers, one of the offer is $165,000. So as a seller, you're thinking, oh my goodness, like, please don't talk to me, don't say anything else. This 165 is what I'm choosing right here, right now. I'm signing the dotted line. I don't have time to hear anything else, okay? All these other offers were at asking. They were not giving me $165,000, so this is exactly what I want right now. Okay, fine. We signed the dotted line. We're on our way. And the buyer who has paid the 165 or has offered to pay the 165 has financing. Now, most lenders, when you get financing, require their buyers to get an appraisal done. That appraiser's job, besides giving us real estate agents massive high blood pressure and heart attacks because of their antics, their job for the lender is to provide them with a value, a fair market value of what the property is worth. That's based off of comparables within a certain mile radius. It's based off of days on the market. They usually provide both sold comps and list comps. So the buyer gets the appraisal done, and don't you know it, that appraisal comes in not at 165, not at 150, but it comes in at, say, 145. And that seller is, well, hey, you offered me 165. I want my 165. What's going on here? Now, mind you, this process has been now going into, say, 7-10 days into the transaction. So that's marketing time lost. The other buyers who did not get their bid did not get accepted have, wiped off their tears from their eyes and moved on to another property, and you're stuck with this buyer now. Okay, so this buyer, of course, is now, feeling deflated because their once high 165 offer is now slowly starting to not become a reality. So you have two options here. One option is, as the buyer, if you have it like that, you go to the bank account for settlement, you bring that $20,000 difference, okay? The other option, which is more than none going to happen, is that the terms of the purchase price are renegotiated. Okay, now this is where this begins to be a very sobering experience for a seller, and they say, oh, okay, maybe I should have thought about signing on the dotted line here. Okay, and they say, well, you know what? This appraisal says 145. And now we're, into the mix of this deal, and we've had the home inspections done already. Home inspection came back good. And I only asked for 150 to begin with. So if we can maybe get the appraiser to come up a little bit, fine. If not, I will have to accept this. I don't want to waste any more time. So that's where we come into, like I said, a very sobering experience for sellers, in the sense that they now have to come back down, come back down to earth a little bit. The celebration is over. The celebration in the sense of you have a sound buyer, you know what the value of your home is now worth, or at least what this appraiser says, and you can move forth with the transaction. So remember, sellers, please, 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 more on the purchase price is not always better. In regard to buyers during a bidding war and multiple offer situation, there are a couple things here to consider, and some things that you can do to basically position yourself in a way that you can increase your chances of getting this bid won. One thing is financing options. Now, we did mention that in the earlier segment of this video with the seller choosing a buyer who had financing and so forth. Cash can be a good option in regard to financing. If you have cash, great. It's usually a smoother, easier transaction. And not saying that it can't, that with using a lender, it wouldn't be, but cash is pretty much straightforward. So that obviously is a great option if you have that ability to do so. However, for other buyers who do not have that option, if you do need to utilize financing, as you know, as you probably already know by now, there are plenty of financing options. If you are a veteran, you can use a VA loan. If you are a first-time home buyer, and depending on your qualifications, your credit, and so forth, you can qualify for an FHA loan where you don't have to have so much money down. Conventional loan is also great too. And there are different conventional options as well. A lot of people just think, oh, conventional loan, I have to have 20%. That's not always the case. There are some lenders, in fact, that offer 3 to 5% down for the buyer to pay for their down payment monies instead of the 20% that some of us are used to seeing. So those are some options. Now, in regard to financing for a buyer in a bidding war, I have been seeing sellers more apt to accept a buyer that has conventional financing than one that has a FHA or a VA loan. Reason being is that our friends, the appraisers, a lot of times they have more strict guidelines and in regard to habitability and repairs for FHA and VA opposed to conventional. Now, that's not saying that an appraiser for a conventional loan won't see something and tag it and say, okay, well, I want that to be fixed before we can approve this loan, and we'll have to come back out and take a look at it. That's definitely not what I'm saying, but the likelihood of that is a lot smaller than what it would be for FHA or VA. FHA and VA, again, have a little bit more stricter guidelines in regard to what they consider to be habitable for a place for a buyer to purchase and live in, opposed to a conventional loan. And also with FHA loan, you do have to occupy the property. So if this is something that you're purchasing, for an investment, a second home, or so forth, then you would have to go the conventional route for your financing. So those are some things to consider on the financing forefront when you're going forth into a multiple offer situation. Again, a seller may prefer less headaches. They want to keep the ball rolling. They want their money. They want to be at that closing table, and also just as much as you do, as well as the buyer. You want your house, okay? So just consider those financing options prior to, getting into this bidding war. Another thing to consider are contingencies. What contingencies are you building into your offer? Okay, me personally as an agent, I always advise my buyer clients to get a home inspection. Whether they choose to or not ultimately is their decision. However, I can't be any more frank with you than once we're at the closing table, things are signed and, us agents, we get our commission check. I will definitely be checking in on you to say hello and so forth, but it's your house. We're on our way. So you are definitely stuck with this. Okay. So I can't ingrain that in you enough to please take the time, get a home inspection. What you can do, because in the bidding war process, sometimes, sellers will say, well, this one is choosing a home inspection, this one's not. I'd rather go that way because I just want to get on with this. However, what you could do is you can shorten that period of time. Instead of taking 15 days to get that whole inspection process underway and settled, you can shorten that to say 10 days and say, okay, within the first 10 days of us executing the contract, we're going to get that home inspector out there, get the home inspection. If we see anything on the home inspection report, renegotiate the terms, or hey, the inspection report came back great, we got that out of the way, we'll move on. But those are some other things too in regard to contingencies. Home sale contingencies can be a big deal killer in the sense that I'm a seller, it's a hot market, I have 3 offers in front of me. Why do I want to wait? I don't want to wait for you to have to sell your house. So again, not saying that the seller won't do it because I've seen it. However, if you're dealing in a hot real estate market, which is what we are experiencing, at least here locally, because we all know real estate is local, all right? But if you are dealing with a hot real estate market, I, as the seller, do not want to wait for you to sell your home in order for me to sell you my home. Okay, so please keep that in mind with contingencies. Lastly, what we're going to review is some other things that we can kind of throw in the mix. One of them is as extra deposits. Okay, for example, right now I have a transaction with a young lady where she not only gave the initial earnest money deposit of $2,000, but to sweeten up the pot here, after the home inspection period, she gave another $2,000. So that really shows the seller that, hey, I'm in this, I got my nails dug in here. I really want this home. So you can also offer extra. You can offer, a larger one-time deposit. That may be of help too. I've even seen some situations, especially last year, the one listing that I had, a couple of the buyers actually wrote letters, personalized letters. Sellers do like to hear that, especially if it's a seller that's lived in their home for quite some time. Our homes are sentimental. We have memories there. It's a loving place. So we want to make sure that sometimes, that as a seller, we're selling our home to someone who's going to love it just as much as we do. And so personalized letters sometimes do help as well too. So keep those things in mind: financing type, deposits, and sometimes personal letters and contingencies as well. All right, well, we are all out of time. I thank you guys again for joining me here on Addie P's Real Estate Tea. Please don't forget to join me next Wednesday for a new video, and check back because sometimes I do post some videos between that time, just a little bit more tea for everyone. All right, well, thank you again and have a blessed day. Take care.